Hello, welcome to the KaroKirsch Podcast. My name is Karo, and this is a podcast where I talk about basically all my crafts, which is mainly knitting and yarn related projects like spinning, and I do sew some project bags every so often, and sometimes there's even some art. But this episode is full of yarn and knitting. It's exclusively knitting. It's a little bit of designing. May I call it designing? Not really. It's like changing a pattern. Oh well, I'll get to that. Oh, there is some mending. That's new, but it's also with knitwear. So let's just jump into the episode, I would say. I'm again with my baby in a carrier. This time I made sure he's like nice and deep down so I don't have to blur him out in the editing as I had to do last time. That was a little bit lengthy. I hope he'll be fine because he's awake. I'm a little bit grumpy, but we'll see. Otherwise I'll just take a break and continue some other time. Today, tomorrow, who knows. Anyways, let's jump into the episode. I have lots to share with you guys. I think I need to start thinking about maybe shortening the distance between these episodes since, I am producing a lot. I thought I wouldn't have that much. I thought I didn't really knit, but as I was gathering stuff together, it is quite a lot. So we'll see if I actually talk about everything. I actually remembered something that I could have shared last episode for sure. Maybe I'll share that, but we'll see, or I'll keep it for an episode where I am short on content. But stop the rambling as I like to do, and let's start with the finished objects. And there is two. My first finished object is the pair of toddler socks for my 3-year-old. I'm sorry, these have been worn. I don't think I even blocked them. With the toddler, you can't really say, wait, I need to show them off in the podcast. So yeah, she's been running around in them and she really, really likes them. And this is some leftover yarn of the pair of socks I showed you guys last episode. It's Schoppe Zauberball in the Pause in Blau colorway. It's a really nice, mainly blue, black, but there's also some greenish or teal colors in here. And what I did, it's just a pattern that I knit after my fashion. I do a 1x1 twisted rib for I have no idea how many rows, then just stockinette. I do this one actually is not is this the eye of the partridge? No. I don't know what this one's called. It's where you do, it's very hard to see with this, where you slip always in the same stitch. I have no idea what these things are called. It's a gusset, heel flap and gusset construction. And then I did same with this sock I showed you last time. I did a 1x1 rib at the sole of the foot just to have it adjust a bit better to these tiny feet. And I virtually just had enough yarn. I think I weighed, as I said, and I think the first sock that I finished was like 16 grams and I had like 18 grams on the ball still left. So that was good. Yes. I don't know. Sometimes I have the feeling I still need to say something, but that's that. It's just a sock. Move on. We have enough content. So the second finished object I have is this hat. It's the garter snake hat by Lavagna Patricella that I was planning on knitting for my daughter. But as you might be able to tell, it's huge. It turned out massive. So I wanted a slouchy hat, so that's okay. But I obviously needed to finish this whole triangle brioche section that was happening here. And I don't know if I did something wrong with the slope that it became so much longer or something, but it looks all right. I don't know. But yeah, it just turned out massive. It fits my head. It's a little bit snug now because this was obviously intended for my daughter. But as I said, I did the tubular cast on this hat. So it's actually quite stretchy. So that's actually good. So it fits my head now. It's not really my colors though. I mean, the blue, yes, but I don't know how I feel about the coral. I mean, for my daughter, I was thinking she would wear it this way. Because she really liked the coral and it, I think, would look good on her. Or yeah, it did. I mean, I did try on the hat. But yeah, I could tell fairly early on actually that it would turn out way too big, but I didn't really feel like going back. I just figured I'll knit this. It's actually not blocked yet, so there's still quite a visible line here where it changed the yarns. But I hope that will go away with blocking. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to knit this again with just a tighter gauge for her and obviously less stitches to cast on, or if I'll do something else. It's kind of boring to knit the same thing twice. But yeah, other than that, it's nice. I like it. I think I'm going to wear it, but yeah, I'll wear it inside out. So it's, yeah, mainly a garter stitch hat. That's why it's called garter snake. But there is a nice brioche section in here. And the yarns I used for this is, the blue is Quick Strick High Twist Merino. The colorway it doesn't have a name. It was part of an advent calendar I had. And the coral yarn is Hold Super Soft in the coral colorway. And I think I knit this with 3mm needles, and that was definitely too big. But I feel like, I don't know if I'm becoming a loose knitter, but this is definitely very, very loose. And I'll get to a later project where I'm also having the feeling that I'm just knitting loose, maybe. But yeah, so that's all my finished object. I want to talk about my mending projects next. So my mom actually knit a sweater for my cousin. And let me show you this beautiful piece of work. It's the Ridari sweater. Unfortunately, I did not look up the name beforehand, so I'll have to put that into the down bar. She knit this one with Istex Let Lopi. Is it Istex? Hang on. Yarn here. No, it's just Let Lopi from Lopi, apparently. And she used... can I get the colors together? Oh, it is Istex yarn. Yeah, no. The colors just have numbers. No, then I don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah, my mom did that one. So it's a sweater that now 3 men in our family own. Like, I knit one, exactly this one, for my husband. Then my sister's partner really wanted one as well, so my mom knit that one for him. And then my cousin also wanted one, and my mom again knit this one. But my cousin managed to get some holes in it. I don't know, the stories vary, but I have a feeling like either it was a cigarette burn or a fire burn. I have no idea. It seemed like there was a hole burned into it. And my mom tried to fix it, but she kind of wanted me to do it. So I did. And yeah, I don't know if it's kind of hard to show because obviously I didn't take a picture before. But can I find it? Yeah, I can find it. Here. I think I did a fairly good job of fixing this. So it was right at the bottom. Let me get a little closer here. And the only way you're still able to tell it actually now is that it doesn't properly roll. So it has like a rolled up hem. Sorry, I'm not doing a good job of showing this. So in the original, you just have a rolled up hem here. And because I kind of doubled up here, it doesn't roll anymore. So that's where you can see that I fixed it. That's the one hole. I don't think I'm gonna be able to tell the second hole. Oh yeah, here. But I don't think you can see it really. Maybe it's a little bit messy. But you can definitely feel it's a bit more, doubled up again. But yeah, I really like to just follow the stitches. I know a lot of like mending tutorials online, they just put a stockinette swatch in there. But if the hole isn't too big, and I mean this wool is really thankful because it's a nice felty wool, so it's it's easy to put the same yarn in and fix the hole with just following the stitch basically. So that's what I did, and I really like that. I like to mend knitwear because especially if you still have exactly the same yarn, it's so easy to make it virtually invisible. And so I fixed that, and I'm very proud of that because I thought I would procrastinate on that forever, but I didn't. I actually managed to do it within like 2 weeks of my mom asking, I think. But on the topic of mending, there's another mending project that I have, but I haven't started on this. This is a pair of socks, which I'm not sure if I shared the finished object ever. I know I shared me knitting on it, but it's a pair of vanilla socks that I knit with Retrosaria Mondim. The colorway was 210, I believe. And these turned out a bit too big for me. I kind of wear them as house socks now. And I think that's actually the only way I can use them anyways, because what's already happening just from wearing them in the house, the yarn is really like getting thin. So there isn't a hole in it yet, but I feel like if I'm gonna wear them much longer, this is totally gonna wear through. So I wanna actually take advantage of the thread still being intact and just doubling that up, like the whole, I guess basically the whole front of the sock. This one's actually even worse. So I haven't quite picked a yarn because I don't have anything of this left. And it would kind of show anyways because it's a variegated changing yarn. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna sort of re-knit or double up this whole section here. And hope that will help give this pair of socks a longer life. So the heel is also thinning a little bit, but not as much. I think there it's just the stitches that are spread apart. It's not so much the yarn actually wearing through, which is the part I was more worried about. They are felted a little bit, I'm sure you can tell, but that's more to do with me washing it in the normal washing machine. But it was actually good because that tightened them a little bit. As I said, they were a bit too wide. But yeah, so that's my plan. Those are on my mending pile now. Let's see if I get them done. I'm showing them off in the podcast actually in the hopes that will make me fix them till next time, but maybe not. There's hope. There is hope. Okay, so the next project is in a way also a mending project, but it ends up being just a totally new cast on basically. But let me tell you about this. So last year for Christmas, I gave my mom a pair of socks, and I knit the Karo socks by Andrea Mowry. And the problem with those socks was that they turned out differently. I think I must have accidentally used 2 different needle sizes, but the one sock had just a way bigger gauge than the other one. And the other thing, the Karo socks are knit toe up, and I never did that before, and I just used my usual bind off that I have, and and that bind off was just a bit too tight for my mom, even though the socks were actually fairly big. And the funny thing is that that's actually that sock that started my Zauberball Pause in Blau colorway yarn ball that I've been now using up with the other 2 pairs of socks that I've been sharing. But I don't think I ever showed these socks in the podcast. I guess I've given them away to my mom, and then I didn't remember that I made them next time I podcasted. Anyways, so my mom gave them back to me, kind of hoping I could somehow fix that, but she's worn them a little bit, and I didn't really see any way of ripping out one sock and then making it match to the other one. So I decided to just completely tear them out and re-knit them. So I have lots of tiny yarn leftovers that are now totally crinked. So it uses 2 colorways. I'll put in a pattern picture so you know how it looks like, but it's basically just a stripy sock with 2 colors, and the contrast is the Pause in Blau Zauberball. And the other one, I keep forgetting this one. Some kind of tweed yarn. I'll put it in the down bar as per usual, and you can also find that in my project notes, which are always linked below, but I actually haven't put in this project yet, so never mind that. But I do have it in here, and I'll eventually update my projects. So yes, I'm using these 2 yarns, and now I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I'm just doing my vanilla sock pattern, incorporating the Curio sock texture knit. I mean, it's a stripy sock. It's a one by one, like changing stripe sock with a little bit of a slip stitch detail. So I'm incorporating that into my own kind of figured out those are socks that fit kind of way. So I do this 1 by 1 twisted rib, and then I'm now gonna go into the striping, but I obviously haven't done that yet. That's all where I am. So yeah, this is sort of a mending / work in progress, new cast on kind of whip, but I really hope to get this done before Christmas this year. That would be good. But she just recently gave them back. But she did complain about them being not really the same right away. But I kind of just like, okay. Ignored that a little bit. Sorry, Mom. Oh, well. As I said, I really prefer to knit on completely new things other than trying to fix stuff that is sort of wearable. I think I talked about that before. Anyways, so the next project I want to talk about is... Which one do I talk about first? This one. Just very quickly. My Cumulus Tee by Petite Knit. It's still a summer knit, and the motivation is definitely going down now that winter is totally rolling around. But I did actually get back into it a little bit. Hang on. There. Ugh, the needle's kind of holding it. There. So, this is the Cumulus Tee. I think I knit this in the 3rd size. And I don't even know where I was last time, but I ended up knitting just a little bit. I think I was probably here and I knit like 5 more centimeters. I technically wanted to knit just a touch more, but then the yarn ball I was currently working with was running out, and I decided to just start to bind off because cotton yarns are not that nice to, like, you can't do a spit splice technique with it. So I really wanted to just like finish with the current yarn ball and then do the sleeves with my new one. But of course, it is a I-cord bind off, which looks really nice, and you actually decrease a little bit so it doesn't like get bigger and bigger because it grows apparently a lot. But yeah, that's basically like 3 rows you're knitting anyways. So my yarn did run out after all, and I had to attach it. And I think, yeah, you can actually still see it. And I did it with the Russian join. Hang on, can I show this somehow? So the Russian join looks a little bit wonky, but that's because you don't tighten it all the way. I mean, I'm not gonna try to explain this now. If you're interested, just Google it. I just followed a random tutorial online, but I did this actually when I was running out somewhere in the middle here with my first ball of yarn, and it's a nice and invisible join, and apparently it holds. I have no idea. I don't really have experience with that join, but apparently that works for cotton as well. So let's see. Let's see if it works. But yeah, I'm knitting this with a Pima cotton that I hand dyed myself with indigo, and I really love this because it's a nice changing blue. There's just a lot of life in this color in contrast to a just solid industrially dyed yarn. So I'm very happy with this, and I hope I'll finish this darn bind off and get going with this project and just finish it. I don't want to have this lingering around till next summer when I may be getting more motivated to knit on summer projects again. Okay, I think I'll talk about my Polar Nights blanket next. It's technically the Indian Nights blanket by Janice Hope, but I dubbed it my Polar Nights blanket because I redesigned most of the charts in the pattern, but I actually have not actively knit on it. So I haven't touched the project in a way knitting wise, but I did go back to my chart and look at the colors and figured them out again. Last time I was talking about this square that I want to reknit this maybe using a different color for the Northern Lights, and I now hence decided that I will do that. Obviously I haven't started it yet. But that's because I looked back at my mock-up with all the colors, and I'm gonna pop them in, and I'm gonna put the old version on this side and the new version on this side. And I slimmed down all the colors. As I said like 2 episodes ago now, that I definitely took out that large green and the coral. But I also have started rearranging the yellow a lot. And I keep talking about me being fearful of that yellow running out, but I don't think I ever mentioned why I'm so fearful, because I cannot buy more of that yellow. So I bought the last ball of that yarn color, that colorway, which I think is called Old Gold in the Holst Super Soft. And I think they discontinued that. It didn't specifically say it's discontinued. I don't know if it's like a seasonal colorway that might be coming back, or what the deal is, but there definitely, it was like a last stock, and I bought the very last ball of that color. And I also already looked up on Ravelry. There is nobody here in Europe that is willing to sell this color. So I really only have that one ball of yarn. And so if I run out, I'm run out. I can't just repurchase that yarn. So I just wanted to mention that. But I did start rearranging the colors, and actually I like it better now the way it is, and it uses less yellow. I still have the yellow in there, but I just have it reduced in the amount, and that's good because now I'm definitely not going to run out of that color. So that's nice to be secure on that end. And I also think it looks now much better. It's obviously way more blue, which, you know me, I love blue. So yeah, you tell me, but I think this version is much nicer now. So now I'm excited to get back into that project. I think I'll have to buy some more of that treasure, the color that I want to use as a substitute for this as well. But that's not a problem because that's actually a new colorway that they're hopefully not going to discontinue very, very soon. So I should be good on that. But yeah, as I said, I haven't gotten back into that knitting project because that is fairly complicated. I am able now to get more into the complicated stuff again, but my next project is actually already taking up that space, and I want to get that one done before Christmas. So deadline knitting gets priority for me at the moment, and I'm also very, very excited about this. So the next work in project is, I think it's just called Men's Jacket. Out of the Erin and Gansey pattern book. I did show the book to you in a previous episode. It's a 100% Japanese knitting pattern book, and it does not exist in an English or a German version. So I'm knitting off the Japanese pattern, and it's quite the adventure, but it's not as complicated as one might think when you just tell somebody I'm knitting a Japanese pattern with Japanese signs on it, since I'm obviously not speaking any Japanese. Google Translate speaks Japanese, so you can actually take a picture of the sign language and then it translates what it sees. So that's good. That only works after fashion though, especially because they're using very short terminology, I'm guessing, like it is pretty usual in the knitting world. And also they don't really tell you a whole lot. They do it more with like graphs, which is actually nice because most of the info is numbers. You basically just need to know how many rows, how many stitches, and all that stuff. And yeah, so it's actually fairly easy to follow that pattern so far. I'm knitting obviously the charted bits at the moment, and those are all charted out, so there's no language barrier anyways. I think it will get a bit more complicated once I get to the assembly portion of the day. Project. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But yes, so I did cast on, and I'm actually super far already. So I started with the front, right panel, and I finished. Yoo-hoo. So the yarn, I'll talk about the yarn a little more later, but it does show off the cables really nicely. It's maybe a little bit blown out right now, but they're nice and visible. I was a bit worried about, because it's kind of a marled yarn, that it would be a bit too marled for the texture to show, but I think it shows really nicely. So the background texture, so to speak, is this moss stitch. And then you just have different kinds of cables. Like these two kinds of cables, you actually need a cable needle, and this one you don't need a cable needle with. This is kind of just twisted stitches. There is a slot for a pocket that I'll put in later. And yeah, it's a sewn together construction. So you do armhole shaping and all that jazz as you're knitting. And yeah, I totally lucked out. So, as I said, the Japanese pattern, they're actually also only written for one size. So if you diverge from that size, you have to resize yourself. And my husband is just taller and broader in the chest as the knitting pattern sample is knit for. So I had to go bigger. So I wanted to swatch for it, and I did that. So it gives you a gauge in the moss stitch. It's very hard to tell now that this is moss stitch. This is actually two different kinds. It's like a 1x1 and then the 2x1, how it is in the pattern. Yeah, you really can't tell. But yeah, this is a swatch where I used two different needle sizes, two wildly different needle sizes, and the gauge didn't change at all. I think the pattern calls for, 18 or 19 stitches. Actually, the super soft fingering held double. That gives me exactly that. And this one ends up 16 for me. I just get 16 stitches in 10 centimeters, and I tried 3 different needle sizes, and it's always almost the same. Like there's a tiny, tiny difference. Not measurable. Like I always ended up with 16 stitches in 10 centimeters. So I gave up trying to hit gauge, and just started knitting. And it ends up being perfect. So I don't even have to adjust the numbers. It just works out to be the same width. The length is a little bit shorter. But A, I think I can do something with blocking there. And B, then it will just be a little bit tighter around the shoulders. It looks fairly wide cut around the shoulders anyways. So I think I should be fine. So I feel I lucked out there. In that I don't have to adjust anything with where the increase lay. So that's good. So I finished the first front panel and I'm working on the second one. And this works up nice and quick. I mean, it's like a medium. Like it's quick because it's very thick yarn. It's Aran weight. But obviously with all the cables is not potato chippy stockinette stitch. But I'm already starting with the decreases here. So this should be done hopefully tonight. Again, I put in a bit of scrap yarn for the pocket. And I hope to get knitting on the back panel. And then the main part of the jacket is already done. So I think I'm well on my way to getting this done for Christmas. Maybe I should slow my roll a little bit because otherwise my husband's going to be like, oh, I want to wear it now. I don't want to wait for Christmas. But I really want this to be a Christmas present. So yes, but I have plenty of other projects to keep me occupied if I feel like I'm getting too far ahead with this project. But I guess I'll bring it to a point where it's then easily finishable on time. And again, I'm a little bit worried with the Japanese pattern with putting it all together, the finishing of it. So I definitely want to get there and not head into huge problems just before Christmas there. Yes, but the yarn I'm using is the JC Rennie Freedom Chunky or Chunky Freedom. I'm not quite sure in the Colbrett colorway. I don't think I mentioned that last time actually, or maybe I did. And yeah, the thing is, last time when I showed that yarn in my acquisitions section, I just received the package. I unpacked it, I set up the camera, and then I showed off the yarn. And I was talking about it not really smelling like spinning oils, and it's smelling very sheepy. And it does smell sheepy, but with time, and actually during the swatching, I noticed that it's actually a very strong spinning oil smell. It's just like this metallic-y, it just smells like a machine. It virtually smells like a machine. Underlain with this sheepy smell, but it gets really strong. And just knitting that swatch, and I didn't wash it, I just knit right off the cone. It's not nice on your hands because it does get quite greasy, and B, it's just a smell. Like, I wouldn't say I got a headache, but it was getting there, you know? And obviously with my baby being very close by me, usually I wasn't feeling very comfortable knitting just straight off the cone. So I decided to wash the yarn. So I have actually a whole cone caked up. Nice ginormous cakes. I love this. And I washed the yarn. And now it's much nicer to knit with this. And this yarn is very easy to like combine with spit splicing, so it doesn't really matter that I had to break it up because I can easily just put it back together, and I don't have to weave in ends. I hate weaving in ends. So anything I can spit splice, I'm very happy to do. And this yarn obviously lends itself very nice to it. So yeah, but the other thing I had with that yarn, and if you go back to the last episode and look at the footage where I showed the yarn, that's again something I only noticed a little later after actually looking at the yarn properly, is that I had the feeling that the two cones are just a slightly different color. The one just seemed a little darker than the other. But now looking at it, so this is the yarn of the first cone and this is the yarn of the second cone. And honestly, I don't even know. I'm curious myself to see in the editing, but I have the feeling now in real life anyways, that they do look the same. Like I couldn't even tell you which one I think was a darker one and which one was a brighter one. But I think in the end it has something to do with the washing, because I have the feeling, maybe I can show this off, that these two panels, the one that I washed or finished, this one is washed and blocked, at least the lower section. Actually had to extend it a little bit. I don't know. No, I don't think it's visible. Like I had the feeling in real life that this one is maybe a little bit darker, but now I can't see anything. So maybe not. It doesn't matter. Long story short, I basically think it doesn't matter in the end. I thought there might be a color problem and that it will be like a line, like different dyes or something, but it's not, it's undyed, you know, that's the thing. That's where it was like a little bit like, how is that even possible? But yeah, after all, I don't think it's a problem. So I can just continue knitting and using up that first cone. And once I'm done with that, I'll get into the second one. Okay, so yes, that's that project. I'm very, very happy with it. It is a very rough yarn though, and I totally noticed that when I cast on this next project I'm going to talk about. I mean, it's going to be an outerwear piece. I think my husband is going to wear something underneath, but just holding this over my arm, it's just like, it's very itchy. Like I couldn't wear this yarn on my skin. So it's definitely something you want to wear something underneath if you are sensitive to scratchy wool. It's very nice. It's very, again, like you can spit splice, which is always a win for me, but it is on the scratchy side for sure. But yeah, I noticed that extremely once I cast on my next project. And I wasn't planning on it. Obviously, I wasn't planning on it because it's a brand new pattern. But Andrea Maury, she just turns out to be my favorite designer, as it appears, because I'm knitting like a lot of her patterns. She just came out with the big cozy cardi. And I had to cast it on. It looks so cozy. It's exactly the right thing. As you know, energy prices, costs are like skyrocketing at the moment. So everybody is just like keeping the heating off and freezing in their apartments. And having like a wearable blanket basically seems just like the ideal thing to have this winter. Even though the winter prognosis is actually going to be pretty mild. So that's good. So we're not going to all start suffering hunger because we can't pay our energy bill. But yeah, so I obviously had to cast on. I had all this yarn and I was looking for a neutral kind of project. It's not a very simple ABC kind of project. It's a very like out of the box kind of project actually, but it's gonna be easy knitting anyways. And I cast on. I just had to cast on. So this is my swatch where you can see the texture of it a little bit, I hope anyways. Ooh, actually very hard to show. So this is the right side. I don't know if this texture actually has a name. And this is the left side. And as far as I can see, I think Andrea Maury has this side, the outside. But I actually prefer the left side. I think you can basically wear that cardigan inside out anyway, so I don't think it matters. But I think I'm gonna wear it with the left side outside. I don't know. I'll see. I have plenty of time to decide. I virtually just cast this on. Let me show you. Whoop. Yes. So this is my impressive cast on. I virtually just cast on 2 days ago and knit like 5 rows or something. And yes, I'm knitting this with the JC Rennie Super Soft Cashmere. So this one's the Oyster colorway. And I love this colorway, by the way. It's like a warm gray. It just has like nice colors in it. Like it has like these golden tones nearly, like brown, like a little bit of yellow. It's just a very warm, dark gray. and I'm holding it double. And I'm not hitting gauge, but it's a very easy shape that you knit, so it's very easy to adjust the pattern with your own gauge. So that's what I'm doing, because I want this to be warm and thick and cozy. So I like the fabric as it is, so I didn't feel like tinkering around with my needles until I hit gauge, because I was very far off anyways. So as I said, I have 19, and if you look in the project pattern, I think she has 26, so nowhere near. Oh, sorry, Jonah. I just hit him with my hand, but he didn't notice. So yeah, I just recalculated, and I think that's going to be good. And if you look at the pattern picture, which I'm going to insert here, you see that there is a cowl section to that pattern, and that is knit with alpaca, Sori alpaca silk she uses. And I was really curious, so I was trying to find something similar, but I had a very specific color in mind for it, and my battery is running out, so hang on a second. Yes, so she uses a Sori alpaca silk blend, and I was really interested in that, and I wanted to try that yarn myself. So I was trying to find a very specific color, because this is what I decided I wanted to use for the body. And I really think that a nice dark deep brown would look really nice with this. Finding a really nice deep dark brown Sori alpaca silk is not that easy. There is a few brands here in Europe that do Sori alpaca silk, but I don't know, they just don't have, like, the only brown I could find was like a nougat, which is just too light. I really wanted a nice, like, dark chestnut or walnut, actually, like a walnut brown, and I don't know, I just couldn't find it. So I decided to purchase, now we're in the Aquisitions, some undyed Sori alpaca from that Webetante shop that I purchased my Pima cotton from as well. So this is by Webetante, and it's 74% baby Sori alpaca and 26% silk. And it's 600 meters in 100 grams. And I bought 100 grams of it, which is what you apparently need for the pattern. And I'm planning on dyeing this dark brown. So I'll have to do some color testing, because I only have these two. So I hope but it's good. It's a dark color I'm aiming for. So even if it turns out not quite what I want, I can always try to over dye it and push it in the direction I like better. So we'll see when I get around doing that, because I'll do that with acid dyes, I think. I mean, I don't know. I could actually try dyeing with walnuts. It's the season. Maybe I try that, and I can always over dye. I don't know how naturally dyed or acid dyes on top of naturally dyes works. It's a thought. I don't know. Anyway, so I ordered this thinking I would dye myself, because I couldn't find anything online, but for whatever reason I continued looking after I already placed the order for this, and I thought I found a nice dark brown actually already pre-dyed, so I bought it anyways, and I thought I found it with the Cumulus by Fiber Spades, but I don't know. I mean, I obviously, after I received this, seeing that it's not the color I thought it was, I double checked again on the homepage, and it actually does not look brown. So I don't know. I think I was checking on my one computer screen is very yellow. It has a very yellow tinge to it. So I feel like I looked at the color on that screen. I must have, because I thought I was ordering a dark brown, but it is a bluish purplish black. And yeah, that's also what it shows up here. Like, I think it's actually fairly true. It's maybe a little darker than what it shows up here, but you can see that's definitely not a brown. It looks purple. It's like a purplish black. And the color is called onyx. Onyx, I don't know how to pronounce that. And if I would have looked up that word, it's actually a stone that is black. That should have told me something. So yeah, this is a black. So it's not the color I actually wanted. So I have 4 balls of this. I'm not going to send it back or anything. It's nice. It feels super nice. And I mean, you can always do something with black. So I'm even thinking of I think I'm going to do a swatch holding it together with my oyster to see how that looks. Maybe I do that because that's something you can do for the cowl too. Like Andrea Murray said, that to kind of give the cowl a little bit more structure, even though I like the idea of it being a cloud. I don't know. I will see. I think I'm going to try. Maybe I'm actually going to try. Might be a nice thing to do with my daughter. Walnut dyeing. And we can hunt for some shells. I think you do the dye with the shells. And they're like everywhere right now. I think I'm going to do that. I think that's a good idea. And then I'll check my natural dyes book if that'll actually come up. Hang on, let me do that right now. Maybe not. I just looked it up. So I thought this would turn out darker. For some reason, I thought walnut stain would become darker. But according to this book, it's fairly light. So I don't know. Maybe you could do something with iron, but I think this is technically already a swatch with iron as a mordant. But I don't know. I'll have to look in here. Maybe there's something else that turns technically darker. That might be in season right now. Otherwise, I'll try my luck with my acid dyes. Maybe I'll just go straight to acid dyes. But it would be nice to do something with my daughter. So that's why I was thinking about this now. Anyways, I'll be dyeing for the cowl. That project would be nice to have this winter, so I kind of have to do it now. But yeah, I was just talking about needing a project to slow my roll with the cardigan for my husband, so that doesn't get much earlier done than Christmas. So maybe that's the thing. But yeah, I am at the end of my content, but I think I've talked long enough. Now I don't know. Now I restarted the footage, so I have no idea how long this podcast episode has been, but I feel like I rambled on for quite some time. So I'm sorry if I got a little bit sidetracked here and there, but whatever. I personally like that. I only half listen to these podcasts anyways. It's just more like a background thing I have on while knitting myself or puzzling. New hobby. I don't think it's gonna become a new hobby, but yeah, I have a friend who bought me a puzzle. So I don't know, just something mindless to do. Well, I like listening to audiobooks while I'm puzzling, now that I think about it. Actually, yesterday I was listening to my audiobook, so never mind. But yes, I was talking about podcasts being a background thing for me, which is still true. But I usually knit while listening to them. Anyways, so if you made it to the end, thank you very much for watching. Give me a like and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's very exciting to watch this space, my space. Because yeah, as I mentioned last episode, the channel got a little bit more traction, so that's extremely exciting. I'm actually getting some comments, so I'm very happy to interact with you guys. And yeah, I hope we build a little community over here. I'm very, very excited. Yes, it's so exciting. Finally. I don't know. I mean, I mainly do this for myself, obviously. I've been doing this for 3 years with like virtually, I think it was like 15 subscribers or something, and probably 13 of them was my own family and friends. So I basically did it for myself because I just enjoy doing so. But this is giving me a new perspective on things, and yeah, it's cool. It's fun. So yes, talk to me, because I talk to you. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but I don't claim to be an expert on any of these topics. I just knit for fun. But anyways, stop rambling, Karo, and say goodbye. I see you next time. Bye bye.